I want the Big Three league.
Yeah.
To start paying these high school recruits to play for them for a year instead of going to college. Think about Zion Williams and Zion in the Big Three for a year.
It would have to be completely different than the Big Three though, because what the Big Three right now is a retirement league.
Well, they're changing. They're lowering that league. They're changing it. They're lowering the ages and all that other stuff. It's kind of like with the XFL. I'd like to see.
But it still is a retirement league though.
No, not anymore.
Essentially,
not anymore.
They could have players that
they can have anybody now,
right? That are not in on an NBA team. That are in the
so
20 to 25 range.
Even if it is right now, but what I'm saying is Zion Williams could come out. Somebody like Zion. And
don't call it the Big Three.
Do I want to go?
I want him to go. If I want him to play, I don't want to play 3v3 on 3. I want to play 5-on-5. Let's make it a Big 5 league. I don't care.
Hunter.
I'm good with 3-on-3, and that's going to differentiate it.
Hey, if Zion Williams came out of high school,
right,
and played in the Big Three, and kicked ass and did all that in the Big Three that he's doing now on these old dogs, he'd still been drafted number 1.
Right.
Those are the players that I'm talking about.
But you're saying the same thing with the Big Three, where they could just as easily go play overseas.
Right, but
play
it's in America.
5-on-5,
right, it's in America.
and still get paid.
But it's in America.
But are you getting the TV time that the Big Three is going to get overseas? And that's the people seeing the.
Yeah, but then you can still say, are you still getting the level of competition?
But none of that matters. That don't matter to me. None of that matters to me. All that matters is what I'm talking about is I'm an 18-year-old. And I can either play for free at Duke or get paid $1 million to play.
He's going to get paid $1 million at Duke, don't lie.
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm saying, Hunter.
Okay, fine.
I'm saying these kids, look, once they start paying these high school kids, there's an option in America. The reason nobody ever goes overseas is because guess what? It's overseas. Like these kids,
but it's becoming more prevalent now.
They don't want to go. They don't want to go overseas. The rich kids go overseas. LaMelo Ball can go overseas.
Well, yeah, that's because LeVar screwed him and decided to take away his ineligibility while in high school, taking him to go play pro ball. Like not even a senior in high school, like as a sophomore going to take him and play professional basketball.
Well, that's the NCAA's fault. Who were in court this week, by the way, arguing over antitrust exemption because they don't want to pay the players. So they spent $1 million on lawyers. To ask Congress or whatever, so they didn't have to pay the players. They spent $1 million that they say they don't have to pay the players to not play the players. Think about how much money is it worth, Zach and Hunter, if they are willing to spend $1 million on lawyers to argue their position that they don't want to pay the players. Well, how much money do they have?
Well, this is where
if they can spend $1 million.
We can have this conversation. Here's the question. Here's the real question then. How much longer does the NCAA have as an establishment? I want you to think about that because with the states coming out wanting to allowing payment to the players,
right,
and more high recruits deciding, hey, I would much rather go and play overseas and get paid,
or the Big Three,
or the Big Three. And now with the XFL not saying there's a rule on their draft, how much longer does the NCAA really have an establishment? Think about it. All the money that the conferences bring in, a lot of people have said it. Why hasn't the SEC just broke off and done their own thing? Why hasn't the Big Ten maybe even combined with the SEC and create their own conference? Like, why? Who says that they have to listen and abide by every rule that the NCAA makes?
If the SEC believes that they are the best football conference in the world anyway, why do they even entertain the BCS and just not say
we're playing our own conference?
Well, they play the conference champion. You already do it. So why not just say why do they
we're
just
the
play
national
anymore?
champions.
Right. They should just say we're the national champions. Whoever wins our conference is the national champion.
We played 12 games the regular season. We're going to play our 13th game, and that's going to decide the national champion.
So NCAA president today in court, he told Congress that there's a timeline in place for having all of this resolved by January 2021.
Nope.
Democrat senator from Montana asked, "Do you have anything on paper right now for this?" He said, "We don't." Hunter, I read his quote and you said no.
Nope.
He doesn't. He doesn't have a single thing.
Nope.
How do you say in back-to-back sentences, Zach, there is a timeline in place for this by 2021? Well, sir, what do you have on paper right now? Nothing. That's the president of Congress right now today. How about Michigan's? Here's you one for your player transfers, Hunter. Michigan State hires Mel Tucker. It's Jay Billis's comment on it. The NCAA is concerned about player transfers and coaches and schools poaching other players. But Tucker was under a multi-year deal at Colorado, and after 1 year, he leaves. So tortuous interference with contract is okay. No, so torturous interference with contract is okay, but players transferring are not. Today, they said we can't. The NCAA are arguing about one of the senators responded to him. We can't get a prescription drug benefit to the floor. We can't get a war declaration to the floor. But we're sitting here arguing about paying college athletes. So he wasn't happy with having to sit there and listen to that from the NCAA. Trying to get through all this. They want an antitrust exemption so players cannot earn money. But just Jay Billis, but funny that the NCAA has never lobbied Congress to act in concert to limit their own salaries, travel, staff, facilities, coaches' salaries, media rights, or any other competitive issue. None of those are competitive issues, but paying the actual players a salary is. And it just keeps getting, like, for them to be so defended upon this system. How much money are they getting under the
because they always say
table.
They always say that. Well, you got two things that's going on. They always say football is your moneymaker, and then basketball is, but not in lines with football. But they're making in so much money if they're paying their coaches what they're paying their coaches, and then the TV rights. I mean,
ooh, don't let me be a senator. Don't do it. Don't do it, because I'm telling you.
That's a good idea.
I'm telling you, don't. But this is the reason why. If you're a senator sitting there, and you and like you said, he's like, why are we even discussing this? If a senator was smart, I would be like, okay, you claim you're nonprofit. The NCAA claims that it is nonprofit. Then I guess you're not gonna mind if we get a warrant and ask for you guys to. You have to give us your pay stubs. Show us what your payroll is, what your salary is. We want to see how that works. We want to see where all this money is really going to. You know what? Would that not kind of put them on edge? Say, hey, we need you. And I'm not trying to get political with it, but, they did the same thing with Donald Trump, with President Trump. They said, hey, we need to see your tax records. We need to see all this. We need to see the money. Well, why would this? Well, if you're really that offended with them not wanting to pay college players, and you're wondering where all the money goes for this nonprofit, then literally look at them and say, you need to supply us with paper documentation on all of your salaries and what exactly you do with this money. I don't see why not. I don't see what the problem is. They want to do it with everything else.
Right. I'm trying to do some fuzzy math in my head while I'm trying to listen to you.
Fuzzy math.
We're looking at the contracts just for the NCAA tournament rights. Not every other game that they play. Just for the NCAA tournament was like $19 billion just for two
networks.
Not counting the other networks.
Yeah, because what is it? It's True TV that does
Sport
it.
TV, True TV, something like that. Yeah. TNT, all these. You add all these numbers up. That's just for the tournament.
And that's what I mean by someone needs to look at them and just bring the hard truth out and say, look, you need to start producing us hard copies of where this money is going.
That's $863 million a year. Hold on. 863, 123. 123. How many teams are in the NCAA?
64.
68.
No, 68. Yeah, because of playing games. Stupid playing games. Stupid.
So that adds up, Zach. You ready for this? 12.69 million per school, per basketball school. There's 10 scholarship players, or 13, I think, on a team, scholarship players. I think it's what that. I think I just read that second ago. Let's say just add average 10 players that play on the team.
It's $120,000, isn't it? No, it's more.
It's $1 million.
It's $1 million. 1.2 million.
That you could pay the players
per
basketball player just from the tournament. And here's the point.
I would say per player per 68 teams.
Right.
Now, Zach, so they pay you in scholarship, room and board, and tuition, right? If you don't do you get a bonus as a athlete for making the NCAA tournament? No.
I mean, I was thinking, are you saying this would be an incentive to make the NCAA tournament?
Right. I'm getting to that. Currently, right now, will Playtech get $1,000 if UNC makes the tournament?
No.
Okay. In books and tuition. By the way, did you see they penalized a school for giving kids too many books?
Oh God.
There's a college, I don't know the name of it. The NCAA just penalized a college for giving them too much book money. Like they were supposed to get like $150 a kid, and they got like $350 a kid, and then they just got NCAA sanctions for unlawful payments for book money. This all it was on their card that goes. It's not like it was a Visa they could go to any store. This was the student bookstore card, and they got suspended for that. Real quick, where was I on this? Was I do the fuzzy math?
Yeah.
Oh,
1.2 million.
But then think about it. That's only basketball.
And Hunter, that's on. Oh, I know where I was going. So, if you don't make the tournament, so if you don't get a refund for not, do you? You don't get money for not making the tournament as a player. So, you're not getting any. There's no bonus money for making the tournament. Is what I'm saying. That's why for football players, your scholarship pays for your regular season. The bowl play is something else. Like whether you play in a bowl or don't, you're not going to get any money to play in the bowl or not play in the bowl, right? So there's no money involved in the postseason play is what I'm getting at. Now, the coaches do have incentives in the postseason.
Right.
Coach K, Coach Roy, every level, all these coaches, every level of the tournament they play in, they can get a bonus from, Zach. So they're basically, Roy Williams will have a game, or not Roy won't this year, he won't make the tournament, but K will have a game this year where if he wins it, he gets $500,000.
Yeah.
And the NCAA don't have a problem with that. Because that's basically what he's doing. There's a sack of money, $500,000. If Coach K wins, he gets it. If he don't, the boosters keep it. It's not like that. Where does that money go if they lose? Where does that bonus money go? Do they give it to the basketball players? Do they give it to the soccer players, the tennis players, anyone else? No. So we're looking at $12 million. Was that per school? Mm-hmm. I did this once. Was that let's go with Alabama to be fun with it, because this is who I usually use. Alabama student athletes. Send me number they got. You have to specifically ask it when you type it in. Sometimes that's not a real word. I don't know what I just typed in. Spell check can be good sometimes, but other times it is awful. Crap, where's it at? Approximately 600 student athletes. So let's do 12 million divided by 600, Zach. 1, 2, 3, comma 1, 2, 3 divided by 600. $20,000 per student athlete. That each school, that's not the basketball players. That's everybody. So the basketball contract alone for all the teams that make the playoffs, for all 68 schools, basically you get $20,000 per school student athlete.
Hey, can we cut this segment? Put it down in a YouTube thing,
yeah, we will.
and then maybe because what I would like to do, this will never happen. But if you can convince somebody, aka a top recruit that's playing at a school that's getting ready to go to the NCAA tournament, if you could convince him to come out in a press conference and say he's not going to play, because how many times do we hear players sit out in bowl games because they're getting ready to go and play?
Terry might just burn down a house.
Oh, I know he might burn down a house. But let me tell you something.
He would lose his ever-loving mind.
Whatever. I don't care.
Loyalty to the school.
So listen, say, what is it, Vernon Carey Jr.? Is that the one with Duke? Send him these numbers and say, look, get in front of a press conference and tell the people this is why you're not playing.
They owe you $20,000.
Yeah, they owe you $20,000 because Coach K's getting ready to get $500,000 as long as you win out of the first round.
They can say, all right, what did you say his name was?
Vernon Carey Jr.
All right, Vernon. If they paid you guys are about to get $12 million a school.
This is off of TV rights.
For the basketball
team. And just
team,
off of TV rights.
You are owed $20,000 if we pay all the student athletes equal or if we just paid the basketball team who, actually earned the money by making the tournament, we could do it by that. Let's say, how many coaches are on the staff? Let's say players and coaches add up to 20, Hunter.
Okay.
Is that a good round number?
What was it right now with 10? It was 1.2 million.
Right. So we're going to go $12.6 million divided by 20, $600,000 a person. That's assistant coaches, head coach, and all the players. But people like Terry and other folks would rather the head coach get all of that money instead of the players and the assistant coaches getting any of it.
It's a joke. It's a joke. And what about us that promote these games? What about us that get this stuff hyped up, man?
$600,000 per basketball player.
I don't see schools coming. I don't see networks coming to us being like, can we get your feed?
Coaches.
Can we get your feed? Can we pay you for your feed, huh? But they want to go to TBS, huh? What? Jesus.
All right, Zach, any other thoughts on Duke Carolina? Can Carolina beat Duke at Duke?
I hope they do, but I don't know. It's probably bad night. Probably a bad night. Probably play good against Wake Forest.
Oh, they just got beat by 17 by Wake Forest, who's next to last in the ACC, but we almost beat the number 17 in the nation. Can I not say that?
17, the number 17. You're saying it. Are you thinking?
Right.
Are you thinking?
It
you're
doesn't
saying
sound
17?
like I'm saying. Yeah, it sounds like I'm saying 17 in my head.
No, you're saying 17, the number 17. I'm hearing
in the nation.
I'm hearing it. Yeah.
Wow.
I thought you were just having a
I
brain aneurysm.
I was, I guess.
I was like, what?
It goes back.
I couldn't say it.
Last thing I'll say, it goes back to the rivalry. And if you remember when the Cowboys were so horrible, was it '89? And the only team we beat that year was Washington Redskins.
Right. Well,
Thanksgiving.
We've been telling Terry all year that the NC State girls. He says they're 20-something and 1. We tell him they're 20-something in UNC.
Yeah, you lost.
He mispronounced. He misspelled the word 1.
Yeah,
it's spelled UNC. They lost to the Tar Heels. All right, so no future upsets for the Tar Heels from either one of y'all.
I don't believe so. I don't even know what the rest of their schedule looks like, to be honest.
We got Duke the last game of the season, so
that's a loss. We play at home against NC State. I know that. That should be a win because basically we just don't lose to them.
I mean,
basketball,
Hunter,
we just don't.
And the way we talk about these college players, I just want to go through some of these and see what. Just have fun with this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I know you know where I'm going on some of this, but I'm not going to finish it up. But are the players at San Diego State good enough to play at UNC?
Yeah.
That's not what would happen if you ask people. You know what I mean? Like, well, Roy didn't recruit them.
Oh, I know.
They're not good enough to play at UNC. Is Patrick Mahomes good enough to play at UNC?
Yeah.
He had a losing record at Texas Tech.
These are team sports, people.
If after 2 years, would UNC have accepted a trade for Patrick Mahomes?
After 2 years, based off of his record, probably not.
Right.
I mean, probably not, unless somebody in that organization has got the same scouting eye that the Kansas City Chiefs had and saw what they were seeing.
Dayton is 21-2-6.
Dayton is so good, man.
I mean,
but they're always competitive out of their conference.
Seton Hall is 10th. Like North Carolina, the coach of North Carolina, Hunter, said that he doesn't have any good players, while Dayton is 21-2, and San Diego State is 24-0.
San Diego State right now and Gonzaga.
What would Carolina's record be in their conference?
Think about it. San Diego State and Gonzaga, both of them small conferences, technically. I think there might be both. No, San Diego State's Mountain West and Gonzaga's Western. Whatever the hell that kind of conference is, just a Western conference. They're fighting for top seeds in the NCAA tournament. Out of the top 4, do you know what conference is not represented? That's had 3 wins in the past few years.
ACC.
It's the ACC. The ACC.
No, I don't know.
West Coast Conference. That's what they're called. The West Coast Conference.
And
Zags. Didn't they win it last year or the year before?
I'm really surprised their coach has not went somewhere else yet. But
They're throwing too much money at him. And he knows he can win in this conference guaranteed every year. Yep. He's built this program. Basically how Duke used to be before Coach K got there. Then Coach K finally came, had a lot of success, was able to build the brand that is Duke. He's doing the same exact thing with Gonzaga. It's a winnable conference. The only person that might challenge him is BYU or maybe even St. Mary's.
My question
is how do players
end up at San Diego State and Dayton that are good enough, obviously, to be.
Do you know who played at San Diego State?
Well, I know Kawhi did.
Yeah,
and Marshall Faulk did too. But how do those players slip through the system and not get recruited / signed by others?
I was going to address. It goes back to the star system. How many people are
misstarred,
and then there is an NFL player right now. I think it's a quarterback. Was it Baker? Was he a 0-star?
Baker
recruit?
was a 2-time walk-on.
There's a quarterback in NFL that was 0-star recruit, and he's a starter. So you're misstarring people. People's gonna go on the radar. How many players are out there that you're just gonna miss? We're talking about Keyone Pryor. Just to throw a name out there. I watched him. He's great. I can't believe a Division I school would not even take a flyer just to put him on the punt return team. It makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what hurts too is a lot of this is regional. Mm-hmm. They always want to recruit in their regions and maybe the larger schools in like California and Texas.
How do you look at like what Zach just said? How do you look at a video of Pryor? You've seen him in person as well.
I've seen him in person.
How do you look at a video of him and sit there and say, nah?
He's the best high school player I've ever watched. That's me. Now,
like, how do you look at that and just say, we couldn't use him, Zach.
He won't probably best. Now that might be for you. me and Kevin watched Chaz.
They're saying he's too small.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray is how big?
Yeah, I know.
He's in the NFL. You cannot take a shot.
Keyone Pryor is the equivalent of what Darren Sproles always was.
And he's talking about the smallness. What's funny about college is like
small.
That's probably good.
Let me tell you something. He's small, but you can't tell me these schools aren't going to pack 20 pounds on him as soon as he gets there.
Zach, wouldn't you?
His speed with another 20 pounds.
I mentioned this the other day, and of course, Cinephoni's from Burns, so he rolled his eyes at me. I think Keyone should get a trial in the XFL.
They don't have a draft. They don't have a. You have to go to college.
Let him punt return one time. You can't tackle him one-on-one in an open field. You can't do it. I've watched it. I watched the. They went and played in the playoffs. When we had to go up above Lenore. What's the team?
High Brighton.
They went to High Brighton. They couldn't tackle him. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, but wait a minute now. We're not all the high schools around here have all the talent in the world that Pryor would have. So let's not say that that would exactly translate at the next level. Speed translate, but everybody else is fast too.
The only team that really could contain him was Shelby, and that's because they had so many athletes on that team that they could kind of keep him contained. They still didn't stop him. So if you're putting him on a team with other elite players, it's going to show out. I think it's a big mistake. I'm
not poo-pooing him at all.
Gardner Webb not offering him.
Like I said,
he plays baseball too. So
I'm not poo-pooing him at all, but I'm just saying the success he's had here at the high school level. There's no like at a Division I school where there are 5 4-star athletes all over the field. Like that, I don't know. He'll still be able to show out with some speed, but he won't do nearly enough damage.
I know we got to get on to the baseball thing, but with let's just say with Emmett's biggest, there was one thing about Emmett. He could hide behind that big offensive line. And when he was by the time he got to the offensive line, they couldn't tell where he was at. So he was automatically going to get 3 or 4 yards.
He was best at, and I'll say this, I guess Zach's kind of alluding to that. His vision wasn't ridiculous as far as picking the right hole, but also I think what he's trying to say is, Emmett and Barry Sanders hadn't run over almost anybody yet, and it's more of a that with Pryor.
Can you hide him behind an offensive line, get him to the line of scrimmage, and let him do what he's best at?
If you're coaching at Carolina, how many running backs are on the team? 4 or 5. Aren't they all pretty much kind of the same player? Why wouldn't you want that?
And in today's dynamic, swinging the pass out, getting somebody in an open field.
He could be a slot receiver too if you don't want to run him at running back.
I think they make a big mistake.
Use him on bubble screens. Go to the XFL double forward pass.
I personally went and watched most of the Burns games just to watch him because I've never seen anybody like that.
Right. People that have stood out the most to me around the area, speed-wise, Caleb Farley from Maiden.
Defensive back for Virginia Tech.
He may be the fastest.
He was a state track winner.
He may be the fastest inline speed I've seen.
And you know what's correct? They had him at quarterback at Maiden.
So I did the game where we played Lincoln, You go on YouTube and pull that up, Hunter. I know it's not HD, but it was. They were putting Sage at safety, okay, as a spy. Or at linebacker. He was kind of moving both, but he was spying them. They were spying with Sage, and they would run a quarterback sweep and beat Sage to the corner. Now, this is the number 1 wide receiver in the history of the state of North Carolina.
Oh, I know.
Caleb Farley, to me, is the fastest. It was like, I don't know how many times I said, this is like a video game, and Lincoln and people were getting mad at me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. Y'all are watching the same thing I am, and this is amazing.
Oh, I know. I watched Caleb Farley when I was working with WNNC. I watched Caleb Farley battle out against Titus Tucker, quarterback at West Caldwell that year. And they were both dual threat athletes. There was not a person on the field. If Caleb got space, you just need to stop running, save your breath. You don't need that oxygen. Just stop.
Who did Q1 end up signing with?
Catawba, I thought.
Yeah, I think that might be right. Yep, Catawba 24. That's amazing to me, Zach.
Transfer portal's always open. Show yourself.
That's just.
They can't say that these schools still don't recruit while they're already in school.
Listen, the North Carolina, Duke, Wake Forest, East Carolina, NC State, you've all been hot garbage at football forever. There's a reason why, and that's because maybe the best feed I've ever seen. And Zach Norris Hopper's in there with him, and we talked to Cleveland County people. They actually bring up Norris when they talk about Q1. So that just tells you, man, he was fast. For the people to know who Norris Hopper was, he was a great. He would be like Q1 playing quarterback and then running the option.
Yeah,
to give you an idea what Norris Hopper was like back in the day. And he also